reports on this latest TV trend.
Just slip it some tape. More Canadians are doing it every week as sales of home video cassette recorders continue to boom.
It was 40 years ago when those Betamax video cassettes were actually cutting-edge technology. Well, today, Sony announced that it would stop making the tapes next March. The cassettes went with the Beta VCR, which was released back in 1975. The system allowed viewers to record their favorite TV programs onto Betamax tapes. In case you didn't know, Sony discontinued the players back in 2002, but has kept making the tapes until next year. So all this talk about Betamax has spurred some interesting conversations in the newsroom from some of my coworkers who never heard of it to some of us who are a bit nostalgic. Graham Williams, our tech guy, joins us now, and as you gaze longingly at these two things, which I think are video cassettes, right?
They are.
What does this story bring to mind?
For me, this is really the story of marketing over quality. When Betamax launched, it was the better product. There was superior color, there was superior tracking. What we saw here was a company, Sony, which was behind Betamax, who was driving this force. They really wanted to control the market. And we saw other market forces come in with VHS at a lower price point, gaining market share, and then erasing any advantage that Betamax had.
Are you old enough to have even had a VCR? And if so, which format did you choose?
Oddly enough, a lot like now, I had both formats.
I did too.
And I remember watching WrestleMania 3 on Betamax. It was actually one of the best tapes I had.
Nice, nice. I finally did try to give away and then ended up having to recycle my VCRs a few years ago. Speaking of a few years ago, we were talking about other technologies where you have to make choices. Like, I love going into tech stores. I hate having to research. And the last time I bought a television, the salespeople were trying to sell me a 3D television. And I thought, oh my goodness, am I going to make the wrong bet as I did with VCRs? But 3D television seems to have just gone away.
It peaked and it fizzled out. We've seen 3D come around a number of times. I think everybody remembers the red-blue glasses. That was called anaglyph 3D. The 3D that we see in movie theaters is passive 3D. This active 3D that we had at home was difficult because you had to have glasses that went with it, and those glasses needed a battery. There was just a lot of moving parts. This is one of those moments where manufacturers were looking at TV sales. Prices are eroding, margins are eroding. They want people to buy more televisions. And so this was a feature they could latch onto. 4K wasn't ready, so it was time to get into 3D. But it never really caught on.
Good. So I made the right choice there. Again, as we were looking through this tombstone of, or graveyard, I guess, of tech ideas that didn't quite work out, there was one that was quite analogous to Beta and Sony, and it was Blu-ray, which of course won out. I have to actually look down at the alternative because I keep forgetting HD DVD. Tell me about this story.
So this basically is the exact opposite of what happened with Betamax. On this side we have HD DVD, and this was pioneered by Toshiba and Microsoft. And it was the superior format. It came with more memory to download interactive stuff, it had a great interactive language, and it had a network connection so that you could get onto the internet and download new things. Blu-ray, when it launched, did none of this. The BDJ format wasn't good enough, it wasn't fast, it didn't have any memory. But Sony, with the PlayStation 3, managed to inject themselves into living rooms all across the world, and Blu-ray now had market share to take control of the market and drive Blu-ray forward.
And so what's the lesson here? Because, you know, who knows what the next Beta and VHS are going to be. What's the lesson for the lowly consumer like me?
Well, the lesson really here is unless you are a bleeding edge adopter, getting into brand new technologies when they launch can be risky. Blu-ray, when it came out, didn't look like it was going to be the winner. But with those market forces dropping those prices, that's where we see people taking that market share. So maybe, for the average consumer, you might want to wait on some new stuff.
All right, well, that's good advice. Thank you very much, Graham.
A pleasure.